Thanks for staying with us. You are watching Ways, and we are discussing the impact of kidnapping on education. The value of education cannot be overestimated, especially in a country with Nigeria's demography. Education is the main source to gain knowledge, to begin a successful journey to life's opportunities and advantages. Sadly, in parts of Nigeria, education is under threat from extremism and kidnapping. Since 2014, Northern Nigeria has been plagued with several instances of students of all ages being abducted from their schools, some in the dead of night. Several calls to our leadership and security operatives have not yielded much fruit, as most cases end in the payment of ransoms and tragically even death of the victims. The payment of these ransoms has truly turned kidnapping into a lucrative business. How can we prepare the next generation when they are under threat in pursuit of knowledge? Please let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Tweet at us at WaysShowAfrica1 with the hashtag WaysShow, or SMS or WhatsApp to 0818-038-4663. Where to begin on such a loaded topic? You know, when we were thinking about kidnapping, I thought, this thing started like
a joke.
Like a joke, you know. At first it was in the Niger Delta, you know, they were kidnapping like expatriates on the rigs and all of that. Then that issue, and then, you know, this whole political, somebody goes missing, they say, oh, it's politics, it's not politics. Then Boko Haram came on the scene. And it just seems to have got like a snowball.
Just continue to
it's going
gather
and
momentum.
going and going. So my question is, please, where is this snowball going to stop? Because the stories we hear and we see of governments paying, negotiating, I don't think I ever thought I'd be at a time where you would be looking and saying, okay, so when you watch those movies and it seems like they're being harsh and saying we won't negotiate with terrorists, you get it now. Because we've clearly seen an opportunity. You know, the students who I just talked about being released, their kidnappers said, they're not bandits, they're not terrorists, they're food seekers. So please, where do we go from here? Because, I mean, now you think about it, it's in education. I mean, it just beggars belief. Like, so this momentum that is going, how bad do we truly think it can get? Because we've reached a point that is like a point of no return. I know, right?
we don't
times.
even want to think about where we can be in another few years if this is not tackled now. It was Malcolm X that said something. He said that education is the passport to the future, right? And the future belongs to those that prepare for it. So imagine a future where there is no education. Because that's what is happening right now. Education is being eroded. Now we think that because it's the colleges or the federal government schools, so to speak, so, oh, it doesn't happen in the private universities or in the secondary schools, the private so it's the public schools that are being affected. In a matter of time, like you rightly said, it's a snowball effect. So it just starts gradually. And then someone would just have an aha moment all of a sudden. Okay, we've done this in public. So why not go to some of these schools?
Yeah.
They probably have more money since they're able to send their kids to schools like that. And before you know it, children cannot go to school. And when children cannot go to school anymore, education is not taking place. At the end of the day, there's no future. Because you're going to have a bunch of people who don't have anything to do, who are idle. And like they say, the idle man is like...
Yeah, devil's workshop.
And all. So basically, very soon you start thinking, it is all... I don't want to hinge it on idleness, so to speak, that people don't have... it's part of it, but it's really not all of it. Yeah? There are idle people who don't have things that they're doing, and then now... Poverty, of course, is also a critical aspect of it. So you have people who don't have access to quality education. They don't have access to good roads. They don't have access to infrastructure, feeding is a problem. Of course, we know the state of statistics, how low we are when it comes to being able to feed every day, right? So when you have people who have all of these problems facing them, of course, when you're pushed to the wall, what happens? Eventually, you're going to push back.
Yeah.
So somehow these people are now devising means to meet up with their problems. And now they don't care who is affected, right? So, like I said, the education, the state of education now, in a matter of time, if this continues, definitely we're not going to have a future.
I think, the funny thing is that it's not even a future. We don't even need a magic crystal or soothsayer because we're living it now. So if you think about it, in the 80s, we went to unity schools, right?
Absolutely.
They were fine. We went wherever we were posted in the country. It was safe. We went. Then the quality of education started to drop and we moved into private schools. We're seeing that effect now because you already have a generation of people that weren't educated. Yeah. Because we had a clear divide then. You had the unity schools, you had the government, that's the state schools, and then you had the private schools. And over time, the ratio of people going to those schools is shifting because now those who can afford it are going to private schools. The same thing has happened in our tertiary education sector because one private university after another has popped up. Now, parents are sending their children to these schools to avoid strikes, to avoid all of these things. Greenfield University, interesting enough, is a private university. And now their students were kidnapped. Some were killed. So, we can't afford to. Unfortunately, we do this thing in that, we ostrich head in the sand. Everybody's just trying to survive. And it's not unfair. We've been conditioned over the years not to expect anything from the government. Your own water supply, power supply, security, everything to yourself. Your local government is your compound, So you can sort of understand why people are desensitized. But I'll come to Jennifer because you Twitter people, I can't. I'm sorry, guys. My brain, clearly, I'm not Twitter, I can't
process that.
But, it's a good place for information. The Twitter streets are harsh.
It is.
So what is the take when you see young people? Because, I always, if you remember when the conversation was happening around Twitter going to Ghana, and everybody was all angry, and then, young people always talk about leaving Nigeria, not having dreams. I never sort of agreed with it, but now, go to school, I can't go to school. I go to school, I'm not safe. So you kind of have to sort of say that the person that is saying that Nigeria is a dream killer, he's right somehow, in his own way. Yeah. So, I'd like to hear from the younger people.
Okay, so when you hear people say things like that, you're pushed to want to understand where they are coming from. Now, let's look at the students that were kidnapped and they've been released. Now, they are going to battle with their mental health for a long period of time. They will live in fear for a long period of time. Now, normally you would go to school and you will feel safe. Oh, I'm in school, I'm being taught. First of all, the thought of you leaving your home and going back to school will be very threatening. You get to school and then maybe there's a shot, somebody just bangs the table or makes that fear, it comes on you. Now, what will happen to such a student? He would either start skipping school. His parents probably won't be aware. He won't be there. Then you have you have a high rate of dropouts. A lot of people are going to drop out of school. Now, insecurity is also going to affect the labor market. Education is terrible. People are not going to school. It's like a vicious cycle. Like you said, an idle mind. People get idle and then they start looking for ways to make money. What happens? They start stealing. They start robbing homes. They also end up kidnapping other people to get ransom, to get paid. So it goes round and round and round. And whoever is perpetrating this evil is hitting us where it hurts the most. Your kids, your children, because no matter how much you work, you're working for your children. Now, if they are not there, what else? There are people that know that their life on this earth is for their kids.
Yeah.
So if I am living for my kids, I'm working for my kids, and then you take them away from me, what else is there to live for? The government, I don't know if the government has actually dipped this, if they've actually thought about all of this. Maybe they have, and they've just chosen as normal not to do anything about it. You see the Twitter streets, you go on Twitter and then you hear a lot of people say a lot of things, and maybe their opinions can be very, very wild, but there is always an atom of truth in it. People are living their truth. People are telling you their experiences. Okay, this is what I am seeing. This is what I'm experiencing. We've probably not had an experience in with this kind of situation firsthand, but there are people over there that they can't even leave their houses. Aside school, there are people that cannot even step out. Every day, if you go on Twitter every day, trust me, you will hear about one person missing. There is always a missing person. Throughout last week, there were 5 people missing. They found one of them.
Well, that's an
remaining
attention
4.
to Zamfara State, and we apologize for that mix-up. In Zamfara State, 2 persons have been killed.
Just go ahead.
Yeah, you found 4. Now they found only 1. It's remaining 4. So we're still looking for 4 missing kids. It used to be, oh, somebody's father is missing. Now they're kids. They're targeting them. So it's not just happening in schools alone. It's happening everywhere. A woman sent her child out to go get a recharge card, and that was it. The girl was gone. I don't know how they found, I didn't read the full story. I don't know how they found her, but it took 2 weeks.
To get her back.
2 weeks, yes.
And only God knows what happened to her at the time.
She had to escape from where she was being adopted. She escaped. But what happened, we don't know. Nobody's going to give you that information. But even if they do, it's not exciting news.
In fact, Jennifer, what you were saying just reminded me of when we were growing up. I grew up in the North, right? Okay. The same North. When I look at the stories that come out, I said, I grew up in this place. I lived in Kaduna and I lived in Jos as well. So the North was home. I mean, you could come out on the streets, you could mingle with people in the area that we lived. There was a time when my older sister, she was young at the time, she was forgotten in school. And she walked out of school. So she thought she could find her way, and then somehow she got missing. And it was the police that saw her. Young girl, where are you going? She didn't know where she was going, so they took her to the police station. And they took care of her. They bought her biscuits and drink to keep her, busy while they tried to get her name and put it up, for people who have family members to come and find her. Eventually, my parents found her. But that was the memory. Those are the memories that I have, where people were looking out for one another. People felt safe. People did not feel confined to their homes and guarded at all points. Now you drive, you want to go home, and then at the traffic light, you're on the edge because any movement can make you begin to get jittery and suspect that somebody is about to harm you or attack you. So the Nigeria that we're seeing today, and then combining it with education. Uti, education is the bedrock of any society. When people are enlightened, when people know, they are able to make informed decisions. And it's almost something that we might be considering to think, could this be intentional?
Yeah.
Could this be to cripple people so that there's a state of anarchy, so to speak, and then the people who are benefiting from the situations can now come as the seeming savers of the world? I don't know. That could be a conspiracy theory in itself. But what is going on? How did we move from this people who are caring and were safe and were optimistic about life to this group of people who are indifferent, despondent, and non-caring, whatever is happening? She talked about the Twitter, opinions of people. People are even no longer sensitive. Yeah. So something happens, you just lash out. And it brings me to something that I learned a few years ago when, they said hurt people hurt
Hurts
people.
people.
Yeah.
It's a cycle.
So there's
And
so
that's what
much
Jennifer was
hurt
saying.
and
Yeah.
pain that everyone is giving out of the abundance
Yeah.
of what they have within.
Absolutely.
Bottled up emotions. Look at those young students. Their lives can never remain the same. Only God knows what they've been through. And if they don't get the help, emotional, psychological, therapy, or whatever you call it, to help them to deal with the issues that they had to be confronted with, then these people tomorrow might become the victimizers.
Yeah.
They might in turn throw caution to the wind and say, you know what, this life is not worth
happened to
living.
me, so
Some
the
could go
psychological
one
effects.
extreme, the others could actually now become the predators. So this is a vicious circle that if not paid attention to critically,
Just goes right.
it's going to be catastrophic.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, there's still so much to dissect, but before we do that, let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll also be opening our phone lines. Please stay with us.